Hi. Hello, my dears. It was immediately popping up with the trying to connect, which makes my soul sad. But it looks like we're good, which is really, really exciting. I'm coming to you from a little bit of a dark hole of my office because it's super early in Australia and the light is not up. So that's why I'm in my PJs, let's be honest. I'm super, super, super excited. Hey, Danielle, to hop on live with you. This is something that kind of came on super randomly. Oh, look at all the people up. This is exciting. I just kind of had, this is like perfect example of how you need to like run with those intuitive nudges and totally just go with it. And this is one of those things. So one of my clients, Danielle, is going to be hopping on with me in 2 seconds. And I just really wanted to share her journey with you guys because I totally know how terrifying the beginning of a business is after starting up 3 and struggling through a couple of those. It's just hard going at the beginning with your mindset, with trying to figure out how to do all of the things, with not having a support network, with not knowing where to start and where to put your energy. And I just really wanted to invite Danielle on, which I will in 2 seconds here, for her to share her journey and for her to share from her perspective what she's kind of been through in the last couple months, because she's had like just crazy amounts of success. She's done so darn well. And I just think it'd be really helpful for you guys to kind of see what that's looked like from her perspective. So, Danielle, I'm going to invite you on. Fingers crossed that this... Got my unicorn mug this morning, which is exciting. And say hello. Hey, Lucy. Hey!
Hey guys! So I just want to say
Yes!
thanks, Elise, for getting up at this crazy hour at 6 o'clock in the morning so it could work with my crazy schedule. So thank you.
Totally fine. I'm just so happy we're able to do this. I'm so excited this is all working. This makes me very happy. How are you, my dear?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm really happy to
Good.
be here. I'm really happy to share with everyone. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, let's maybe start. Maybe like feel free to just tell everyone what it is that you do. I guess, a little bit of a background about you and what kind of brought you here.
Yeah, so my name is Danielle. I am a registered holistic nutritionist. I live in Canada and I live in Manitoba. So I graduated from CSNN, Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, just under a year ago. So I think this time last year I was writing my final exam and was
Wow.
just gearing up to do all the final preparations. And I remember it being a crazy time of year. But I started my business in September is when I really started thinking about what I wanted it to look like. I started doing all the website prep. I started, making a Facebook page, all those little things that take months and months, right, to figure out before you actually start taking clients. And it just takes months. And so now I have my company. It's called Nourishing Roots Nutrition. And my focus is to work with moms, new moms in particular, who are struggling with, excess weight after baby, mental health issues. I just see a lot of postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression happening, and I don't see enough conversation about the role nutrition and lifestyle plays in that. And having gone through my own journey of postpartum depression and anxiety, I just have a huge heart to walk other moms through that. I have a huge heart to say, moms, you can feel better. There's hope for you. You do not need to be on the medication. Not to say that there's not a place for it. Absolutely, it's life-saving, and some people absolutely need to take that route. But there are much more natural ways that you can bring balance and really hit those root causes naturally. So that's my passion, and that's what I do, and that's who I work with.
Yay! I love it. And I think it's super important to kind of like emphasize the passion, right? Because I think what really helped your journey accelerate so damn quickly was that you were determined more than anything to make this work. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was determined to make it work for a few reasons because I need to bring in an income for my family. And so I'll just share with you guys a little bit my why behind why I have such a passion to make my business work. We all have our whys. So mine's going to be different than your guys' why. My why is my husband actually has a medical condition. He has epilepsy, and he was diagnosed 4 years ago. And with having a seizure disorder, certain jobs are just not safe for him to have. He owns a company, a trade company, and he works up on ladders, and it's just not safe for him to be up on that ladder. So my big why behind making this business work is to become the sole financial provider for my family. So we can get my husband down off of that ladder, and he can work his business from home and doing the financial and paper stuff. And so just like I tell my clients for nutrition, right? What is your why for making this work? We all have our own whys as to why we need to make this work. And really grabbing a hold of that was, I think, really crucial in making this work.
Totally. And you were so clear on that even when we first met, I think. Hey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm doing it because of X, Y, Z, and I'm determined to make it happen, which was, yeah, huge, because I think that really enabled you to take the leaps of faith that you did take early on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Even though it was scary, yeah, it's so important to be pushed and motivated in that way.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'd love to for you to kind of share how you felt from when you kind of first finished school and decided that you wanted to open your own business to really leaping in and what navigating through that was like. Because I think that's where a lot of people are at. And I know how I felt, and it was terrifying and hard to navigate through. So I'd love for you to kind of share that.
Yeah, it was absolutely terrifying. My husband is also an entrepreneur, so we have lived this entrepreneur life for a while. I know the ups and downs, the ins and outs, the hardships. So even as I was going through school, part of me was like, oh, do I want to delve into this world of owning my own business and everything that goes along with that? And the end answer was yes. And the reason is because I have 3 kids and time freedom is important to me. I need to be able to make my own schedule. I need to be able to work from home. And we need to be able to live life on our terms. I want to be able to travel, go on vacation, and not only when someone else tells me I can, but when me and my husband decides it works for us. So I was terrified, because of that business angle. It was also very overwhelming because there are not a lot of RH10s out there yet. I still feel, especially in Manitoba where I live, it's very new. I didn't know what it looked like. I had no idea how to start a business in nutrition. I had no idea how to reach my clients. I had no idea even how to structure my business to support them once I signed them on. So it was, yeah, absolutely terrifying. Very exciting because what I did know in my heart was that I wanted to help people. I wasn't actually clear on exactly who I wanted to help yet, but I just knew there was this huge calling on me to help people with their health. So that's all I knew, and I was going to make it work.
Yeah, amazing. And I think it's so interesting too, like, because we all have different kind of fears and beliefs about what it's going to be like and what our hurdles are going to be. And I find it super interesting that, like, one of the things you thought was that, like, oh, there's not enough like RHNs out there. That must mean that, like, there might not be a market for it, or that's going to be hard to find clients, or, X, Y, whatever those beliefs are. Because I find so many people have almost the opposite belief. They're like, oh, like, X industry is super saturated, and how do I stand out, and, everything. So I think it's interesting to look at it because we always think a little bit that the odds are stacked against us, no matter what side of the coin we're on. Hey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's an open market, that's true. But what good is an open market if nobody knows what it is you do, if they've never heard of it? That's where I was coming at it from. That was my mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
No one's going to want to reach out to me or use my services, which is not true.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so before you kind of decided that you wanted to hire support, what were you struggling with most? Like, how did you kind of know what step you needed to take?
Yeah, I think what I was struggling with the most was how to stop working. So, like, I felt like I was working very hard. I was working almost every day, but not reaching anyone. That was my biggest struggle. How do I get clients into my office? Because that's the work I want to be doing. I don't want to be doing all this other website, working on programs, all this other stuff I thought that I needed to be doing. And so I was just getting very frustrated and almost a little bit hopeless in that.
Yeah. And I see this so much, and I think that's super important to touch on, because we feel like we're doing all the things, right? We're like constantly busy doing heaps of work. And it's like the mindset flip of that is like, well, if I'm already this busy and I don't even have clients, how am I even going to manage to take clients on? Because I'm already working all of the time and I'm not actually seeing results. So then it becomes like a bit of that vicious circle where we're like, oh no, like this is like so hard and I'm not even bringing people in. What is it going to look like once I actually sign clients? And I think, I mean, I've fallen into this trap a million times, and I think a lot of my other clients will agree. And it's just that we're just putting our energy in the wrong spots. Hey.
Absolutely. And I think something else too, just to acknowledge that I was very frustrated in, was charging for my services. And I think I was
Yes.
myself a little bit, and I know we talked about this, is that I think I was scared almost to bring clients in because I felt like all the work that I was putting into them, I wasn't going to get back financially, because I really felt like
Yeah.
nobody was going to pay what I was
Yeah.
charging. I really thought that.
Yeah. Oh, completely. And I remember that so clearly. And the interesting thing is that so when we met and when we first started chatting, you were charging less than a third of what you're charging now for your big program, right? And
Yes,
the reason you were so convinced that nobody would buy it is because you hadn't sold any of those packages yet, right?
that's right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I had sold one. I had one
Yeah.
client.
Right. Yeah. And like you're pretty convinced that like you're like, well, the price is this, and like energetically you weren't really behind it either because you're like, well, this doesn't even cover like my time, my energy, like the current price I'm charging, which I'm having a hard time signing clients on, I don't even feel good with because I feel like that's drastically undervaluing once I start to look at, because I think we kind of looked at, we broke down like how many hours are you putting into this? What is the behind the scenes work in terms of figuring out a good price for you? And so no wonder you were terrified to kind of increase it, right? But ironically, what happened when we did increase it?
Yeah, when we did increase it, I was just bombarded with with messages for discovery calls, people just saying, I want to talk, I need to work with you. Yeah, it was really amazing because we had spent the time really evaluating what my time was worth, what I was offering it, was I behind it, and
Yeah,
I totally was. And once I saw that value, I was able to communicate that value to my clients so much more efficiently and with such better energy, that I really think that they picked up on that.
completely. And it's so important to like, I'm so glad you emphasize that because that's the thing. Like, it's not that like just because you tripled your pricing, that was the thing that made everyone sign up with you. It was because you did the work behind the scenes and the inner work to realize what your value was, how amazing this program was, right? We did the work of building the program, figuring out why this would actually change people's lives. And then we looked at, what are the time and the energy and what is it actually going to look like for you to execute this for people? So you were totally able to get behind that 100%. And then from that place, you were stoked to talk about it and you couldn't, like you were happy, more than happy to kind of like share what an incredible program it was. And then when you got on the call with people on discovery calls or whatever, I mean, you had no problem conveying the value because you believe so deeply in it. Hey.
Absolutely. I think before I was scared when I was talking to people, almost embarrassed a little bit to.
Totally.
Sounds really silly for me to say this now, but I was embarrassed to tell them that I was charging for my services to help them. There was almost this guilt about it. And it was so great through the last, few weeks of us working together. We've been able to really uncover that and get to the root of that. And I'm at a place now where I am excited to help people, and I really understand that energy exchange. And if I'm going to make this work as a business, this is what I'm going to charge. And being comfortable with that just feels really good and very empowering.
Totally. And like and not only like it feels so much more comfortable for you to talk about your services and get excited about it, right? But that translates to value for your people, right? Because now you're showing up for them and now you're able to like tell them on how you can actually help them. And I think that's such an important thing to like, you know, like share with everyone on here because I don't know a single person like who has started up a business who truly cares about actually helping people who hasn't felt that way, right? It's like this the dark side of people having their heart in the right place. It's that so many of us actually feel guilty for charging for an incredible service that we provide. Hey.
Yeah. And you know what's really incredible? And I'll see if I can get through this without crying.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
is,
I don't
is
want. We're
when
both gonna be crying in a second.
I was telling Elise this last night during one of our consults, but one of my clients came in and sat down and she said, Danielle, you've changed my life. She said, you changed my husband's life. You changed my children's life. And if I hadn't had the coaching and I hadn't had someone to walk me through the mindset work, someone to walk me through setting up my packages in a way that feels good for me, I would not have been able to work intensively with this client the way I did. I just wouldn't have. And so I've had this opportunity to work with this client now for over a month, and the changes we're seeing is incredible. The changes in her mental health, her being excited to cook, her being excited to feed her kids healthy food. And that is the best feeling, is to be able to offer that to my clients and actually change lives.
Totally. Yeah. I had to fight back tears there too. And that's like that's why we're here, right? Like that's the whole point of any of this is so we can actually get out there and serve other people and keep this ripple effect going, right? And that was like one of the biggest things that really motivated me to move into business mentoring and coaching instead of nutrition, because I just kind of knew this was my thing. Like, and it makes me so bloody happy because you're just killing it at nutrition and you're doing so much better than I did. And it really shows to me how, like, when we find our thing and we're willing to show up and we're willing to dive in and we're willing to take the scary action, insane, incredible, magical things truly, truly happen. Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're just saying things like taking the scary, actions and those steps. But really, I mean, they're not as scary as you would think. I mean, it's, to me, to think back, that's a much scarier to be sitting in that spot of uncertainty of where is this business going? How am I going to charge a fair rate for myself? How am I going to make this work? That seems really scary to me now. This is not scary. Now that I am fully behind my packages and I get to live my passion, there's nothing scary about that anymore. It feels amazing.
Totally. And thank you for pointing that out because you're so right. I think I probably overemphasize how scary it is. But you're right. When you reached out, yes, you took a scary action, which was hiring a coach probably before you thought you were ready and super early on in your business, and committing to your business at that level at that stage was absolutely terrifying, right? But what would be scarier would be still in that place now, right? 3 months down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without having created that momentum and that confidence in yourself and your services. Because that is like, it's so big, like once you're able to start to gain that momentum of like, okay, so like this is working. I get to show up as me. I get to like share from my heart and I'm actually changing lives. That is so much easier to then kind of use that momentum and keep building on it and then look at different ways that we can start to, create different things like courses and, that's how we kind of scale the business. So thank you for pointing out that it doesn't have to be, it's not as actually terrifying as it does feel at the beginning.
Yeah. And I'll agree, it was like that day before I sent Elise the payment, before we actually said, okay, I'm going to do this, I was terrified for so many reasons, right? I mean, it is a financial investment. I was
Totally.
I was Googling Elise, like, is she going to like run off? Is she going to close this group after I pay her?
Totally.
I do want to hear this because I told Elise this many times, is that when I was, going through the process of looking for a business coach, I was following quite a few different coaches, but something about Elise's messages, just her energy really vibed with me. And every time I saw her videos or her messages, I said, she gets it. She understands exactly where I've been. And my gut was telling me every single time, do it. You have to do this. You won't regret it. Your business needs this step. Go for it. And I can't really explain it logically, except for it was just something inside me telling me to do it. And I just had to listen to my gut. And I'm really glad I did.
Yeah, that makes me so happy. I'm so glad you did too, because it's been amazing to work with you. And I think it's so important to like learning how to lean into those nudges and following them through only strengthens your ability to continue to do that in your business. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, like that's one example. But then Elise has kind of pushed me a few times to just do a live video on something. And I messaged her right after I was done and I said, Elise, I totally bombed. I did terrible. I was so awkward and I didn't even say what I wanted to say. And so then I hung up. But then half an hour later, I would get 3 discovery calls come in, or like 3 messages in my inbox saying, I want more info. That really resonated with me. Can we work together?
Yeah,
And so it's just really empowering and really freeing to know I can just show up as myself, and I can just
totally.
follow my things and just trust that people will just resonate with my energy.
Totally. Yeah. And like, I think the earlier on we can start to harness that and learn how to kind of lean into it. One, it makes, how much easier does that make business as a whole? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
so much easier.
Yeah. And it makes it fun too, right? There's just a fun that you
Yeah,
get to just be yourself and you do get to share your heart and then you see it actually works.
totally. And what a relief. Like, what a relief in the sense that, like, you realize that, like, your strategy is that, right? Your strategy is you showing up, making sure you're taking care of yourself so you can show up in that, awesome energy and actually share from your heart. And, you do the inner work so that you're able to show up in that way, right? And that's how it works for you, which is like amazing. And the more you get to like harness that energy and like hone in on following those nudges and listening to your gut and doing, getting some guidance to do the scary things, it enables it to flow so much easier than, sitting behind a screen and trying to figure out what the next perfect strategy is to do, or whether you should start this funnel or that, like time and a place for strategy. And we definitely implemented some in your business. But I think it's like, I'm all about that blend, right? Like figuring out how to follow your gut, learn how to leverage you, right? Really share what's on your heart and your passion, and then start to find ways to create strategy around that. So you can, because who wants to run a business where it feels just like a, a 9 to 5 gig or a corporate job where you're like a slave to a certain strategy or having to do it the way everyone else does it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. There's
Yeah.
just something so neat about just being really genuine, and that's the
Yeah.
key. That's it. And I don't know that we see a lot of that out there. A lot of people just showing up as themselves. So it's just really refreshing to be mentored in that way and to see, well, that's what the secret sauce is. It's just to be you.
Yeah. Who knew? Right. Yeah, I know. And it's like, it seems really obvious. And I think it sounds really easy and simple, but it's quite challenging to execute in the sense that, like, it will challenge every fear of judgment, every insecurity, right? Like, it will challenge so many things for us in order to show up that way. And that's kind of a lot of the work. Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's so many times when, even last night, for instance, we were having our call and I had to say, okay, so now I'm feeling really weird about, sharing a customer testimonial. Okay, you need to walk me through this.
Mm,
How can you do it? So it's so good to have that mentorship to just walk through those times when you're just feeling silly or unsure, or yeah, those things we all
totally.
deal with.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And like, I guess one of the good questions is like, because I know you kind of said that, like, how you kind of were able to just listen to your gut, and you were, willing to really lean into that and follow that. Is this being the right next step for you? And because I know you kind of went very quickly from like not thinking you needed a mentor to actively searching for one. And what kind of changed for you for that?
I think part of it was I was preaching to my potential client base the importance of a coach in every area
Yeah.
of your life. I was saying, athletes always need good coaches, but it doesn't stop there. Everyone needs a coach. If you want to make changes in your lifestyle and you're not being successful, well, you probably need a coach and a mentor. And so I think I was listening to that message. I'm like, well, I can't preach this unless I walk it. If I'm struggling in my business and what I'm doing isn't working, then obviously I need a coach and a mentor to walk me through this. And another thing too is I did realize that I did the investment. I paid for my schooling to get that education and that background. But now when it came to start a business, I didn't have any background or any really education in that. So I really knew that I needed to make the investment on that side of it as well to be successful.
Yeah. And I think what you said there is so important too, in that like energetically, it it also makes it so much easier to hop on a discovery call when you know what the person on the other side is feeling and how, you know how scary it is to invest. And I completely agree too, because when I kind of, have made scary large investments in my business, it, one, made me quite energetically available to ask other people to do the same because I knew exactly what that process was like. It showed, as woo woo as this will sound, the universe that I was like willing to do the thing that I'm asking other people to do. And it's like, I believe really truly that like, our outside world reflects our inside world so much, right? And when we're kind of asking for one thing, we want to behave like we would want other people to behave. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. It's so true. I can relate now. As a coach, I can relate to what it's like on the other side of that chair because I'm walking
Yeah.
that right now as well. And even though it's different, business and nutrition, it's still a lot of aspects are the same. So it's a great learning opportunity for me on many different levels.
Totally. And I think it really like increases your confidence in your value too, because you're constantly like investing in yourself and investing in your skills, even if that's like business related. The mindset stuff, like this is across the board, right? Like I know for me, even when I was a nutritionist and I had hired, and I invested in mentorships and, masterminds, the mindset work my coach was doing with me helped me so much in my nutrition business and gave me a lot of insight as to like, oh, right, like I can see it. Do you know what I mean? In order to help people take leaps and basically change habits and make different choices, it's all the same, right? It's all the same kind of patterning in our head.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just good to like, when we're investing in ourselves, it only adds to our value, doesn't it? Like, I think a lot of people, especially at the beginning, and I know I did, look at it as like a cost and something that's going to take away from like the current resources that we have because there's not very many at the beginning, right? We're like, well, I'm not bringing in money at this stage. I don't have clients. I have limited resources. And it feels like a big chunk that's taking away from your business, right? But in reality, I mean, it obviously we'll both be on we all agree that it adds to it, but it doesn't feel like that at the time because I think it's a little bit of lack and it's a little bit of like not being aware of how much the value will not only increase your ability to run a successful business, but also increase your ability to like improve your mindset and be able to coach other people on the other side. Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I think I realized early on when I decided I wanted to work with a coach. There was a little bit of that feeling like, well, I haven't brought in any money, so how am I going to pour more money into my business? But I just
Totally.
knew I'll just be real with numbers. I was bringing in only like $500 a month through my nutrition business. And I
Yeah.
knew I had a number that I wanted to make every year. And I said, well, I'm definitely not going to reach this goal at the rate I'm going right now. So if this investment with my coach will allow me to even like, quadruple that, then it's definitely worth it, right? And I knew that's
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And good for you for take like, it's a scary jump, especially when, you're not bringing in a lot of money. And I think so many people are at that same stage. Like, I know I used to tell myself this story in my first business. I was like, oh, I'll wait until I sign the next couple clients, then I'll get support. But I didn't realize that, like, Elise, in order to get the next couple clients, you need the support, right? And it becomes a bit of
Yeah.
a vicious circle sometimes.
Yeah. Lucy
Um,
is just asking where I
yeah.
worked part time in the beginning. So in the beginning, I'll share a little bit of backstory too. I've been a stay-at-home mom for the last 10 years. My husband is self-employed and he's been the sole financial provider for our family. So now that my kids are all in school full time, my youngest is in grade one. Now I have the opportunity to build my business. So I wasn't working anywhere part time, which I did have that freedom to build my business and still have the flexibility of being at home when I need to be home with the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's like awesome that you shared that too, because you had a lot on your plate, right? You have three kids and like a family that you're taking care of. And because your partner is like does have his own business, he probably works some long hours sometimes. So a lot of that is on you, right? So I think it's even more impressive that you've been able to do this because it's not like you're like me and you're single or you don't have kids relying on you. And I think a lot of the time that financial worry bears on us too. I know one of my other clients was saying that. She's like, well, like it was terrifying for me to invest because I have like children to worry about. Like if I go broke, it's not just on me, right? It's a family I have to consider.
Yeah. Well, and I'll just say, I think since you started coaching, I think I've brought in what my investment was almost just from coaching. So
I
there's that
know.
side. And, I knew kind of that was the possibility, but yeah, I mean, my kids are the reason why. My kids are the reason why I want to make this business work, so I can provide for them. So that investment only made sense to me. I don't know. For
Yeah.
me, that wasn't really a big question. It was kind of a no-brainer for me to make them
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
earn, my dream annual salary for them.
Yeah, totally. And like, I was actually doing the math last night. I was like, wait a minute. She says she's taken on five and then it's new package. I'm like, that's freaking amazing. Like, you've totally earned back your investment, which is
Mhm.
bloody brilliant.
Yeah, and I think it's only been like 6 weeks, so I'm
I
looking
know.
forward to the year.
I know. I know. It's incredible. And it just makes, and like, it shows how willing you were to show up and do the work, right? Like, I it worked because you worked it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like there's some magic formula. It's not that I just handed it to you on a silver platter. You 100% showed up and did the work and you were very willing to execute on all of the suggestions I gave you. You did the inner work, you were happy to do the mindset work, and you were really happy to dive all in with it.
Yeah, and I was terrified. That was a big fear of mine before I signed up. I was
Yeah.
actually scared I wasn't going to show up because having three kids, because of
Totally.
all the work that goes along with that, doing the cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping, their appointments, all that stuff really can be a full-time job if I let it.
Oh my
So I was very
gosh, yeah.
that that was going to get in the way and I wasn't going to show up, but I did because I think part of it was because I made a rather large investment, and that's a really good motivator to put the work in.
Totally. Yeah. And that's like that was a great point too because it's not like you were able to do this 100% full time, right? Like you haven't been working in it full time and you've still been able to make it work so incredibly well.
Yeah, it's been very part time actually. I do work out of a clinic in the city as well. And so I have to keep 3 days a week open for that clinic. So I'm really only running this business 3 days a week. And I've been able to sign on that many high end clients already.
Yeah, it gives me goosebumps. Like it's freaking incredible. You know what I mean? Like which I think is awesome because I think so many people think that it's not going to work unless I'm able to dive into it full time. And it's not true. Like it can, if your energy is concentrated and you're really focused on the things that are actually going to give you the income and the results, it's really easy to like make that work for you, which I think is interesting too. Because at the beginning you felt like you're probably doing, yeah, well, this would be a good question. When do you feel like you were doing more work, before or after?
Oh, I was doing more work before because I didn't know
Yeah,
what I was before. I was trying to do everything.
totally. Yeah,
And this is a big thing too because what I was trying to do, and one of the reasons I felt so lost and kind of insecure in it, is because I really felt like I had to target everyone. I felt like because I had
yes.
to appeal to every single person. And I kept hearing, you need to find your niche. You need to kind of niche that down a little bit to your ideal client. I kept hearing that, but that seemed terrifying to me. And it wasn't
Yeah.
until I actually did that I was actually able to resonate with those people that I wanted to work with. And now they're coming to me. And that frees up time for me because now I'm not working with clients that are kind of out of my area of genius. You know what I mean? I'm not spending lots of time researching what will help them because I already know what's going to help my clients that I'm signing. So it's saving me tons of time.
Totally. And that's a really good point too, is like, not only does it help you, like, not only does getting really clear about who your target market is, who your ideal client is, and what you're gonna like be like working in specifically, which we did a lot of work in at the beginning, but it helps save you time in the end, because one, people are drawn to you so much quicker, right? And two, what the work you're doing with your clients is so much more concentrated, so it's easier to actually carry that out, right? Because you're not all over the place. And it's like a really good point for any business, really, because I find, like, specifically in, like, nutrition and other wellness stuff, we find it really hard, but it's something across the board. Like, I've worked with designers or VAs that have a really hard time niching. They're like, no, I just do all of the social media, or I do all of the things for everyone. And that doesn't help anyone kind of reach out to you, because they're like, well, I would love to know specifically, like, can you help me with Pinterest? Can you help me with Instagram? Like, everyone really wants that tangible, specific result. And the more we can kind of like present that to people, I think it makes it so much easier for people to reach out to us.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely.
easier for us in our job. Hey, yeah. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, and it feels so, it's such a great feeling to work with that ideal client. When they come in, I'm not now working with clients where I'm like, oh, I don't want to work with this person because I really don't know that I can help them in this area. So it's a great feeling to have ideal clients, because they register your energy, you love them, it's who you want to work with. It just makes work that much more fulfilling.
Completely. And so much more enjoyable, more fulfilling, because like your ideal clients are going to be the ones who get incredible results, right? So that's amazing. And also, like, energetically, it's not draining. You don't feel like it's exhausting to work with people. Exactly what you said. It totally lifts your energy and really boosts you and keeps that momentum going. Yeah, that's amazing. Lucy says, has social media been your main way of gathering clients?
Yeah,
that's for you.
I think a lot of traction I get is through Instagram. I did have a nice mailing list before I started. So I reach out through mail. I'm not sure how many contacts actually come through. Through my Facebook page is where I get a lot of contacts and discovery calls come through. So I find that there's leads that have come through Instagram. From there, they join my group. And then from my group, then it leads to a discovery call from there. I find what's happening now, though, is that from my few initial clients, I'm getting a lot of referrals. Mm-hmm. So the clients connected so well, and they got such good results that now they're telling everyone they know, and I'm getting lots of followers that way. So word of mouth has also been big for me.
Yeah. And it's so awesome, because like, it's like we've created one kind of funnel for clients to come through, and like, because you've been taking on ideal clients because you got clear, and because you're connecting with them, because they're like raving fans of yours, they are now referring other people. So that's like another stream. So it's been amazing. Yeah. And I think at the beginning too, you were really hesitant to see if social media would really work for you.
Yeah.
In terms of bringing in clients. Hey.
Yeah. Like, I was putting all this energy into Instagram, like putting a post out every single day. And I didn't feel like I was getting anyone reaching out to me. I was worried about like the Facebook algorithms with my Facebook page. I was like, oh, no one's seeing it anyway. It's not worth putting the effort into it. But it's really interesting when you target your message, then you don't need to hit all those people. You just need to hit a couple of the right people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And Lucy says, that's fantastic. Thanks for answering. You're welcome, Lucy. Yeah, that's it. Like, you're able to get clear about who you're able to help. And regardless of algorithms, regardless of whatever else was on Facebook, your clients found you because you resonated with them so strongly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so awesome because you've really like honed in on your messaging and how you connect with people through that. And that's been just such a great way for you to like get new leads and new clients online.
Yeah. And that was a very scary step. Very freeing once I did it, but I remember we had this conversation about, okay, now you need to share your story, because that's how people are going to resonate. And before that, I wasn't. I think I was just sharing recipe posts and like a motivational quote every now and again, because that's just what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
But once I really got open and real and vulnerable, then the response was amazing how people reached out. And of course, it makes sense, but sometimes it's so hard to make the connection between what we know and actually doing it. So
Oh
it's
my
been
gosh,
freeing to
totally.
open up myself and share, and that's how I can resonate with people. They know that I've been through what they're going through.
Totally, right? Yeah. And it's like a veil, right? And I see, like, we all do this no matter what industry we're in, whether it's nutrition, I see it in business coaching, I see it with designers, anything service based, you know, like we all kind of like hide behind like the safe things, which are like the quotes or, you know, just like stats or just, you know, the general information because we're afraid to kind of like open up that. I don't know. It's like it's like letting go of that barrier and actually opening up and really showing up as us. Hey.
Yeah, I was feeling before like I had to share all my knowledge. I'd be like, look how much I know. I know all this
Yes.
stuff. But that wasn't resonating with very many people. But once I said, well, this is what I've gone through and what I've felt like, and these are my struggles and these are my victories in health, then I had people reach out and be like, I never knew that you were 60 pounds heavier. Well, now
Yeah.
that I know that you get to that, now I know that you understand me, so now I want to work with you. And I did have those messages after I shared, so.
Totally. Yeah. And like, I think that says a lot about how you were able to drastically value your own journey, right? And value you showing up as you. Because it's hard to do that when we're not confident in ourselves and we're not confident in our services. And also when we kind of think that, like, you know, it's that belief that people only hire us for the knowledge that we have, right?
Yeah.
And it's not actually true, right? They want to know, like, people hire us because they want to know that we've been through something similar. Obviously, they want to know that, like, we've been able to go through a transition or take other people through a transition that they're struggling with. And they also just want to like know us and like us, especially I think in a coaching relationship, because it is very intimate, right? And it's something that you need to feel really comfortable in. You want to know that that's your person because that's where the magic really happens. And your clients would feel the same, right? Like they feel comfortable knowing that you know where they're at, have been where they're at in terms of, you know, how they feel, you know, how hard it can be, and you've been able to get through the other side. And you opening up, I think, was really them knowing and trusting you a lot, and also deciding that, like, oh, wow, like she can do it, I can do it, sort of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And just the realization that people buy from people and
Yes.
not from, a nice, beautiful brand. They need to feel comfortable. And so it's been, and that's still a growing process, obviously, right? Like it wasn't, I didn't wake up one morning and everything changed. It's a growing process, but
Totally.
um,
Yeah. And I think being comfortable with being like with the fact that you are your brand, right? Because that's really terrifying at the beginning.
yeah, it
Yeah.
absolutely is. And it's, yeah, also this question sometimes of, how to resonate with your clients and what do they want to hear. So it's just so good to have that mentorship in that, because I would often get lost in my own head or too caught up in my own thoughts in my own head of, second guessing myself, doubting myself, not trusting my gut, not trusting my intuition. So it's so great to have someone for feedback, someone for accountability, someone to push me in the direction that I wouldn't normally push myself in.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it completely. Like, I'm so grateful I have a coach as well to help me do the same thing, because it's really easy to spiral out on a Wednesday evening or whenever it is. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like those little in-between spaces where you're able to learn how to like shift that makes such an impactful difference in your business. Yeah. And what was last couple questions, and then we'll see if anyone else has any. If you guys have any questions, feel free to post them, and we'll answer them. So it can be for me or Danielle or whoever. um, this is one thing. So I know a lot of, because you had a family, because you had a husband, obviously, and this was a big investment. How did you approach that? Because I know a lot of people kind of struggle with like, they're like, okay, so I think I can get behind this, but like, how do I talk to my husband that this is an actual good investment when, I'm putting my family's financial future on the line here?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm very fortunate that my husband is like my biggest fan. He just loves everything I do. He thinks it's great. He's totally behind my business. I'm also very fortunate that my husband is self-employed. So he full out understands investment in business. When he was starting up, he needed to buy two trailers, $10,000. He needed to buy a brake to make East shopping, $20,000. You know what I mean? He understands that in order to bring the money in, you need the right tools to do it. And if you
Yeah.
don't have the right tools, and he fully understood that my tools look differently than his tools. Mine aren't necessarily tangible things that you can buy. They're learning and mentorship. And so he fully, and when I explained that to him, he was fully on board. And he says, of course that makes sense. Of course you need to make this investment in your business if it's going to work. I'm behind you 100%. So I think I'm fortunate that my husband did have that understanding of the business side of it and what goes into, having to always pour back into your business again.
Totally. And that's what a great example. And thank you for sharing that, Lovely, because I think that's such a thing that we forget about with online business and with entrepreneurship, because it's not traditional business, right? And I think, 10 years ago, or even not even 10 years ago now, if you were to start up a physical business, you'd have to get your startup costs are possibly a loan from the bank to get your office space and to get your physical tools and to get all those things. And I think like don't get me wrong, love online entrepreneurship. But I think when we start off, because we're so convinced of like, oh, we've got no startup costs, I'm just gonna roll with it, and I can just start up a business from at home. And like, can you do that? 100%. But what's going to increase your chances of bringing in money faster is if you also invest in the tools that you need, which aren't necessarily physical ones when it's an online business.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess it was really just awesome that your husband understood that already. So it was, easy to kind of approach him for that. And I think because you're so logical and you just kind of laid it out exactly how you did. And you're like, look, here's the thing.
Yeah. Well, I knew I was sold on it before I even talked to you in the discovery call. I knew I needed a coach. I had made that preparation in my own mind of why I needed to do it. And so there was a little bit of fear of oh, what's he going to say? What if he says no? Because I totally understand that those decisions do need to be made together. So there was a bit of fear, but luckily he understood and was behind me 100%. So
Totally. Yeah, 100%. And I think there's a couple questions for you, Lovely. So Luana says, Danielle, how long did it take you to create your high price program? And did you see clients while you were creating it?
Yeah, so me and Elise created together. We did it through one of our sessions, and I think it was probably through 2 sessions, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
It kind of evolved. She really had me nail down who my ideal client was. She had me nail down how it looks like to work with them. We went through all of that and really had me decide how I want to work with clients. And then through that, we decided how many hours I spent doing that work, how much I wanted to get paid per hour, and then that was the end price of my program. And it made sense because I saw everything that went into it. I was fully behind it. I'm the one that agreed on all the price. It wasn't her telling me, you need to charge this much. We worked on it together. So and my program is not something set up that I just give someone that's already prepackaged. My program is a one-on-one customized package. So it didn't really take a long time to put together because it's customized that I put together for each client as I'm working with them.
Yeah, totally. And good point on the work that did go into that, right? Because I think that's why you were able to get so behind on the value of it, because you knew exactly the value of it, right? We made sure that we were aware of what value was going into it, i.e. your education, your experience, the knowledge you have, exactly how you're going to walk clients through, all of those details made it so much, I think, a lot easier for you to pick a price point that was, had we just kind of picked this number out of the blue 4 weeks before, you definitely wouldn't have been able to sell that. right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Because I wouldn't have broken everything down on my own. I wouldn't have really been behind the value behind it. And I wouldn't have been totally sold on it. And I would have been unsure, like, is there enough value? Am I ripping them off? Am I charging them too much? Am I not charging them enough? What? And I wouldn't have been sure. Once I was sure of it and I was confident in that, then that energy really was projected when I was doing my discovery calls and able to get clients on board.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. And it's like, was the program format itself important? Yes. But I think what was more important was you realizing realizing who it was for, how it was going to change their life, and just like how valuable it was. Like those were probably the biggest, most important things about the program. It wasn't like, I think a lot of us get stuck in like exactly the details of what it looks like rather than like who it's for, how it's going to change their life, and really why it's so incredibly valuable, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And just to, get into Luana's question a little bit more. So
Yeah.
my program, I did actually create a program before I started working with Elise, and it was a weight loss program. And I had a couple people on it, and they had tremendous results. But I think by working together, we just realized that I wanted to work a different way with clients. And then my ideal client was a little bit different than the weight loss client. That program that I had developed, I think it's great. And it took me about a month to put together my 4-week weight loss program.
Yeah, good. That's great. Thank you, Daniel. That's super helpful. And Lucy says, did you create your programs yourself or did you get help with content graphic designer?
So my weight loss program, that was actually content that I created to give out, which I still use some of it with my one-on-one clients that do want to lose weight. I used Canva. So I did it all myself. There's really great programs out there. I don't necessarily think we need to pay for a graphic designer. I mean, we all have our areas that we just don't want to learn or we don't want to do it ourselves. But I found that Canva was really user-friendly. It helped me create really appealing and visually appealing content to give to my people.
Totally. And in terms of like your high level one-on-one, we didn't even, I mean, we haven't, there's nothing physical about that at all. And the content has just been you getting really clear on your messaging and sharing that out.
Yeah, when I work one-on-one with people, it's an intense one-on-one coaching is what it is. So there's not really much I give to them. I have them fill out their intake forms, which I've had from school. Those who go to CSNN know the intake forms. I just use those. And we go from there. And I have my letterhead in a Word document, and that's how I send communication to them. Nothing too fancy, and no one's complained about it yet. So.
No, and you're changing their life.
Right. That's what the feedback is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's like such a good question, Lucy, and a good point because like I think we sometimes make things more complicated than they need to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
People
like
make it much more complicated. And
totally.
even now I feel like I don't want to make it more complicated, but then when I just do really simple things and I get a ton of feedback, I just get reminded. I'm like, oh yeah, it doesn't need to
it can be easy.
all this. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And like, look, could we have, I mean, I guess you could have hired a graphic designer and you could have, done all those things. Would it have made you any more money? I don't reckon. I don't think so personally.
No.
And it would have been a lot of time and energy spent on things that aren't actually what you enjoy doing, which is working with your clients.
Right.
Sharing your message, educating them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just saw another question pop up.
Yeah.
Rhonda says, I'm still waiting to get to the point where I feel like I have time to see clients since I am still in creation mode with my program. Maybe you could speak more into that than I could, Elise.
Oh, well, I think it would be like, because you would probably relate to this. Like, you probably didn't feel like this too long ago. Hey, Danielle.
Yeah, well, that's how I felt before I started working with Elise. I felt like I had no time. I was just creating in order to eventually draw people into this. And it turns out all the time that I did spend creating programs, not that it was wasted because I do still use them. It's just not necessarily where I needed to be spending my energy. But I guess it's all dependent on how you want to work with clients. Everyone is different. Not everyone's going to have their program set up the same way that I have my program set up. Everyone needs to kind of work that out for themselves, what it's going to look like.
Totally. And I think that's a great point, because we kind of decided based on what, like, we kind of looked at the big picture, right? We were like, okay, what are your income goals? What do you desire from this business? Like, what do you want your lifestyle to look like? How, how do you want to build it? What do you, like, you obviously wanted time to spend with your kitties. So we kind of looked at that and said, like, okay, so it makes a lot of sense for you to create, you like working one-on-one. So it made sense for us to create a one-on-one high-level package for you to work with people, because then you're able to, like, because I remember this too, we were looking at, I think when we just first started, we were looking at your program and you're like, okay, so this is my income goal. And I was like, okay, so let's break this down. Like, how many clients do you need to take on at this level to be able to hit your income goal? And like, it was like a million, not a million, but do you know what I mean? Like, it was a lot, right? And I was like, okay, can you even feasibly work with this many people with the hours that you want to dedicate to this business? And you're like, no, that's actually impossible.
Yeah.
So then we're like, okay, so we need to create something that makes it feasible for you to be able to work the amount of hours you want to work, be available for your family and your kids, and also bringing the income you desire, right? And from there, we kind of looked at, okay, so this makes sense. Let's create this. It's also going to, like, not only does it work for you, but the change you want to create for your clients is going to be so much more impactful with this program rather than like a self-study sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we realized by working together that I get very invested in clients. So I can't do a prepackaged program, because then I want to get personal. I want to look at root issues. I want to follow up with them every single day. Because, like, well, if that's the way I want to work with clients, then we need to set up a package that works that way. Because then I'm going to really get my ideal clients that way, the people that want that kind of support.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So not only does it serve you, but it works well for them, because they're going to get the life-changing results, which is why they are, right? Which is why you're getting those messages so early on in working with them, that you are literally changing their life, because we created this intentionally, right? Like, it's very important, I think, to be very intentional with the work that you're doing, because one, it helps you to zone in and not just be doing all the things for the sake of doing all the things, but two, it's so much more impactful for your clients, and you get to actually, like, impact them and change lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to apologize if some kids come running by. They all just came
That's
home
okay.
from school, so you're probably going to hear some kids in the background right away.
That's totally fine. Luana, does that help? Lovely. Let us know. Yeah, and feel free to does it make sense to create a program as you see the clients because of the repetition of certain systematic approaches for each client that is foundational? Does it make sense to create a program?
So I guess what Luana is asking, because as you're creating your program, you want to see what most people are struggling with, and you want to just include those things in your program. Like I said, I think it's all individual. I think that's going to be, you'll have to figure out, Luana, who your ideal client is and what they're struggling with, and really create your practice around how you can serve them best, I think is my only insight into that.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And it makes me so happy to hear you say that, because I'm like, yes, Danielle's all over it. She gets it. And here's the beautiful thing. Like, when you go on to create different, group programs or whatever else, it's the same process, right? It's getting clear on who you want to serve, being intentional with making sure that whatever you create is going to help them achieve X result, right? And then looking at how you want to serve those people. And it is super individual, right? It depends on how you like to work with clients. It depends on who your clients are. It's very, and I think this is why, like, I'm, only working with clients one-on-one, because it is super, like, it's not something you can just plug into a system, right? Like, we looked at exactly what you wanted, Danielle, in such a personal approach, and everything was kind of tailored. So, and I know for me, when I was doing nutrition work, I did the exact same way, because I was like, everyone has different needs. Everyone has different struggles. So it just helps to have something tailored to you instead of just like a 4-week program or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And I guess any other questions, feel free to post them, guys, and then we'll kind of wrap up here. Yeah, anything you want to add, Danielle? Anything that's
Yeah, no,
we haven't touched on?
I think we covered a lot of territory. I think that was great.
We did.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else except for it's been a great experience. I tell Elise all the time how thankful I am for our time together and for where my business is going, because it looks completely different than it did 6 weeks ago. And
yeah,
I'm not discouraged anymore. I'm not feeling lost. I'm not feeling confused. I know exactly where I'm going, what my message is going to be for the next few months, how to reach my clients, and I have the confidence to know that they're responding to that. So, yeah. So thank you again.
Oh, my pleasure. It's been amazing. Yeah, it's just been like my absolute pleasure, and I'm so grateful to have like been able to work with you and see you grow so quickly and just see how fast things can change for you. It just is amazing. Like you've gone from essentially 100% booking out your practice in a very short period of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm full. I'm not taking any more one-on-one clients right now. So yeah.
Like, and that happens so quickly. You've earned back your investment, you did the work, you took the scary leap, and yeah, you really followed your gut, which is amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And thanks, guys. You're so welcome. Yeah. Lucy just says, thank you for sharing your story. Luana says, so happy for you. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I hope this was helpful for you guys to kind of give you some insight. Danielle, tell us where everyone can find you.
Yeah, so I have a few different places. So it's Nourishing Roots Nutrition on Instagram. You can just type in nourishing_roots_nutrition. And then I have a Facebook group as well. It's called Empowering, I don't even know what it's called now, Empowered Moms Reclaiming Health, where I really focus on equipping moms with information to help them feel their best physically and mentally, and also to encourage health in their family with their children as well.
I love it. You do such important work. I'm so happy that you've gotten yourself out there and you're helping other people, because that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us. It's been, thank you, Danielle, for coming on here. I'm so grateful to be able to have amazing clients like you that are happy to share your story and happy to be super transparent about your journey. Because I think that's just so helpful for people to kind of see how quickly things can change, right?
Yeah, and just the same thing with my business. I just know that anytime that we can share our story, it just helps to empower others. And I'm just so all about us women empowering each other and lifting each other up. And when we do that, amazing things happen. So I'm really happy to have had the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, good. And that's exactly right. And this is what I think all of us here are super passionate about that. So it only makes sense to kind of, thanks, Lucy, to share the love. And I'm just going to do a quick little pitch here because we can. I have 2 spots for June, you guys. So one last spot is left for my 4-month and 1 spot for 6 months. So here's the thing. If you're feeling it in your gut, if you know that you need support and you want to drastically, quickly launch and scale your business like Danielle has, feel free to message me and we can make some magic happen, because nothing makes my heart happier than working with incredible people like Danielle, like you guys, and helping you to actually start reaching people and changing lives, because that is what this is about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to follow that up, I'll just say Elise has been amazing at just being there. She's always answered my messages really quickly. She has sent me tons of resources. She has just been there for me 100%. So she has shown up, which has allowed me to show up. So if any of you guys are needing coaching, I highly recommend Elise and send her a message. You won't regret it.
Thanks, Danielle. Thank you so much, lovely. I'm so bloody grateful to all of you guys. It's amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming on. It's just turning into a bit of a love fest, which makes me happy. Yeah. It's a great way to start my day. Thank you again, Danielle, for popping on and sharing your story. I think we'll sign off.
Sounds good.
Awesome. I'll chat to
Yep.
all you guys soon. Bye.